The winning blueprint presents.
In the lab room.
Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Luke. Thank you for joining me. Today, we're talking about what's new in New England, and there's a lot that's new in New England. And this is courtesy of YouTube subscriber Chawan1. Snuck in, got the Patriots up. Remember, if you want your team or any team for that matter to be next, simply be the first to leave a comment at the bottom of this video stating next and the team that you want to see next here in the What's New In segment. We'll talk Patriots today, and a lot has changed since we've seen this team exit out of the playoffs in 2012. There are so many changes. I will not delay. We'll get right to the proceedings this evening. And so, before we can get to what's new in New England, we first must dispose of all of the old in New England. So, we'll go out with the old in New England. As always, when talking about new, old, whatever the case may be, I need the assistance of two of my trusted colleagues. Of course, I'm talking about my big board behind me and my handy dandy pointer. I've got both. Let's get to the big board and talk New England Patriots and what's new in. We're going to start with out with the old in New England. And no big changes here. You still got Belichick, you still got Brady, you still got the gang together for the most part. But there are some changes that are going to impact this team heavily in the 2013 season. Some that you can see on the surface and some that may be bubbling and festering under the surface. I'll get to both here in a second. Let's start with Deion Branch. Here's a guy that has been on again, off again, on again, off again, a New England Patriot. But he's a lifer. He's a Patriot for life. He's been a stalwart in your Super Bowl runs. He's been a fixture in New England. I think that was his last stint in New England, however. But whatever the case may be, Deion Branch, no longer on your football team, wasn't a huge contributor in 2012 anyhow, but you'll always remember the contributions that Deion Branch has brought to this franchise. You look at wide receiver Brandon Lloyd now. This one is a head scratcher for me because I don't know if Brandon Lloyd was a malcontent on this team last year. Really didn't hear a lot from him in terms of being a nuisance on this team a season ago. It just seemed like this guy just went out and went about his work human-like. And so I expected him to be back. I don't think that he's going to cost that much money. As you can see right now, no one is beating down Brandon Lloyd's door to have his services on their football team. So I felt like he was a guy that you could get back for a relatively cheap price and get him back on the football team. He already had some continuity with Tom Brady, and so I didn't understand why Brandon Lloyd wasn't a guy you just brought back just because it made sense. But nonetheless, Patriots decided to go in a different direction. Maybe they wanted to go younger. Who knows what the situation was there? But Brandon Lloyd no longer on this football team. You look at Wes Welker, another receiver, and this one is the one that stings the most out of all the receivers that are no longer on this roster. This was a guy that Tom Brady wanted back, and for good reason. You look at Wes Welker and what he's been able to accomplish as a New England Patriot. It trumps any other receiver, maybe in Patriots history, in terms of what he has been able to do over a 5-year stretch for this football team. You look at his last 3 or 4 seasons, this guy is catching about, on average, 103 balls a season. And so he's putting up ridiculous numbers year in, year out. He's getting it done for the Patriots. When all else fails, you can throw it to Wes, and you know he'll come down with it. He was a security blanket of sorts for Tom Brady, and Tom wanted him back. He was willing to rework his deal, was Tom Brady, to make sure that he freed up some cap space to keep a guy like Wes Welker around. And then the Patriots go behind Tom Brady's back, or at least that's how he perceived it, and did not sign Wes Welker back. They lowballed him, gave him a deal that was $2 million less than what he was looking for. Can you believe that? The Patriots offered 10. Wes got 12 from the Broncos. Hard to imagine that $2 million of money was the difference between him remaining a New England Patriot and ending up in Denver. There was some bad blood there. This whole situation was mismanaged by the Patriots, by Wes Welker. Both parties involved are equally guilty for this marriage being split up. And so Wes Welker is now sleeping with the enemy in Denver, a team that if you want to go to the Super Bowl, if you're the Patriots, you're probably going to have to go through to get there. And so this one did not make a lot of sense for me. This was a guy that I thought should have been back in New England. But I'll explain the logic that I think the Patriots had when making this move a little bit later. You look at another guy no longer on this roster, running back Danny Woodhead. I'm very curious to see how this one plays out because I want to know, is Danny Woodhead a guy that flourished because he was a Patriot? Or will he show that, hey, I'm a guy that can get it done in this league, and not because I was a Patriot in that system with Brady and Belichick and in that West Coast offense was the only reason I flourished, but I'm actually a good football player that was given the opportunity to show what I could do, and now I'm going to show what I can do elsewhere in San Diego. We'll see what Woodhead is able to do out there with Phillip Rivers because I think the Chargers have been missing a guy like Woodhead after losing Darren Sproles to the New Orleans Saints. A guy like Woodhead will come in and help the San Diego Chargers. I think the Patriots are going to miss Danny Woodhead. He was a versatile guy out of the backfield, did a lot for this offense. But we'll talk about a guy that will replace him, and I think will do an adequate job in doing so a little bit later. Let's go ahead and attack the elephant in the room. I've avoided it for long enough. Of course, if you've been following any news, if you haven't been under a rock, then you know I'm talking about tight end Aaron Hernandez and his situation that he has found himself in. This was a guy that I thought was going to be part of that new wave of the future in terms of tight ends in the National Football League. I thought that he and Rob Gronkowski had really taken this league by storm. You hadn't seen a passing game be predicated off of tight ends, not receivers, not backs out of the backfield, but tight ends being the primary targets. In 2011, when the Patriots got to the Super Bowl, the tight ends were the catalyst for that run to the Super Bowl. Gronk had a huge year, so did Hernandez, and I thought these guys were going to usher in a new wave of hybrid tight ends and guys that can get it done and multiple two tight end set looks from teams around the league. But after a disappointing 2012 season where Hernandez was banged up and Gronk was banged up as well, and the Patriots really didn't get the production out of these guys that they had gotten the season before, Hernandez had a tumultuous offseason that culminated in him being apprehended by the authorities on a speculation of a murder charge. And so not only is he no longer a New England Patriot, this guy is fighting for his freedom. And I think it is all but assured that this guy is going to be locked away for a very long time. The question isn't whether he's going to be charged with one murder, because we already know that's going to be the case. He's already been charged with one murder. Is this guy potentially on the hook for 3 murders? He's being looked at as a suspect of interest in a double murder from a couple of years ago. So this guy is in huge, huge trouble. And forget about football. Aaron Hernandez has a lot of issues off the field. He'll never play football again. Who knows if he'll ever see the light of day again outside of a prison. And so Aaron Hernandez, that's a sad, sad story and a sad tale of how going down the wrong path can really impact your life. And this guy had it all. He had made it to the highest level there is in terms of playing professional football, and he squandered it, wasted it all. And who knows where this is going to head, but I hope people learn. I hope other athletes learn. I hope other people in general. And this isn't even an athlete situation. I hope other people learn that everything can be gone like that in an instant. One wrong decision The people you hang around, you have to surround yourself with good people, and you have to keep yourself out of sticky situations like Aaron Hernandez found himself in. He's no longer a New England Patriot. You look at offensive guard Donald Thomas. Here's an unsung hero that a lot of Patriot fans probably know about. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. A lot of fans around the league definitely don't know who Donald Thomas is, but here was a guy that stepped in when injuries started to mount along this offensive line in 2012. He stepped in, did an admirable job in filling in and really holding this offensive line together. He was one of the reasons why this offensive line was able to continue to move and not miss a beat. And so him in a backup capacity is definitely going to hurt the Patriots. He's gone now. He's in Indianapolis. He's probably going to start for the Colts. And so that's a loss that, if you're a Patriots fan, that one stings just a little, because you got to have depth in this league. And he was the guy that was one of the better backup offensive linemen in the league in 2012. So you look at now the defensive side of the ball and out with the old, and you look at defensive tackle Kyle Love. Here's a guy that has started for you for the majority of games at the defensive tackle position across from Vince Wilfork, or at defensive end when you were playing the 3-4 defense. Last year you switched to a 4-3. He was at the other defensive tackle spot for the majority of the season. Solid defender, a guy that is replaceable, and I think that's why he's no longer on your football team. Kyle Love has moved on. He's now in Jacksonville. So is defensive tackle Brandon Dederick, who also moved on. Another guy that's a rotational depth type of player along your defensive line, or formerly of your defensive line. He's moved on. I don't think this is a guy that, again, can't be replaced. I look for the Patriots to find guys to step in and fill in these areas here along this defensive line. You look at safety Patrick Chung, another solid defender, a guy that never knocked your socks off. Just a solid defender that you could count on to be where he was supposed to be when he was supposed to be there. Did he make a lot of plays? No. Was he a guy that was a difference maker? No. And so by checking off both of those boxes, you see that Patrick Chung is a guy that's expendable as well. He's now in Philadelphia. We'll see how that pans out for him, but he's no longer a New England Patriot. So now you go from out with the old to in with the New England Patriots. So now we go in with the New England Patriots, and looking at this list, I see what the Patriots are trying to do, and I'll break down what I think the Patriots are looking for out of some of these free agent acquisitions. Let's start at receiver. You lose 3 of them, so you got to replace these receivers somehow. Patriots did not waste any time. Now, I'm not really in love with a lot of these guys that they brought in, though. Let's talk about them. First up, Donald Jones. This is a potential pick up for the Patriots. Here's a guy that you saw 2 times a year for about 2 or 3 seasons with the Buffalo Bills in Donald Jones. Solid receiver, never really did anything of note. He had some good games against the Patriots, which is why I think the Patriots went out on a limb and got this guy, much like Wes Welker when he was with the Dolphins. Patriots saw Welker. He had some good games against the Patriots. They said, hey, this is a guy that can help us. They went and got him, and look what Wes Welker became for the Patriots. Maybe they're thinking we can do the same thing with Donald Jones. I don't think that's going to occur, but we'll see. Donald Jones is a guy that does have talent. I just don't think he's a guy that is a difference maker in this league. We'll see, but the Patriots are taking a chance going out and getting Donald Jones, and he'll get an opportunity to play on this team that does not have a lot of receivers at this time that you can count on that have established themselves in this league. So Donald Jones will get an opportunity to play some meaningful snaps for the New England Patriots. You look at wide receiver Michael Jenkins. Here's a guy that's been around the league, started out with Atlanta, moved on to Minnesota. I don't really know what the reasoning for this pickup was. He's a solid blocker in the run game. Maybe that's something that the Patriots valued here, but his best days are long gone. He's a possession receiver, does not create separation. He was a part of the no separation crew last year with the Minnesota Vikings. I don't see this guy being someone that can come in and really help your passing game all that much. And so Really don't know if Michael Jenkins is even going to make this roster. I really wasn't a huge fan of this signing. We'll see what Michael Jenkins brings to the table for the New England Patriots. You look at wide receiver Lavelle Hawkins. Here's another potential pickup for the New England Patriots. Much like Donald Jones, a young guy early in his career. He's from the Tennessee Titans, is Lavelle Hawkins, and he's a guy that hasn't lived up to his potential. You've seen flashes from this guy, but never a consistent production from Lavelle Hawkins. Patriots are hoping to get that out of him again. Really don't know if this guy is an NFL caliber type of star. I think this guy is a solid receiver. I don't think he's someone that can get you 60 or 70 grabs a season. He's more of a 35 or 40 grab guy, and maybe that's what the Patriots are looking for. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Lavelle Hawkins matures into something more than what he's been throughout his career thus far. We'll see. Wide receiver Danny Amendola is the big fish here. This is the one that the Patriots are relying on the most. And here's my thinking here with Wes Welker. Patriots would have liked to have had Wes Welker back, but they weren't really hard pressed to bring him back because they felt like Welker was getting up there in age. And we know how the Patriots love to do it the Patriot way. And I think they felt like Wes Welker was on the other side of 30. We've used this guy up. We've gotten 100 grabs out of him numerous times, including in 2012. How many times can we go to the well? Is Wes Welker going to be able to hold up? They didn't want to see Wes Welker in that season when he decides to fall off that cliff and only get you 62 grabs. They didn't want to be a part of that. So they felt like we'll get ahead of him and we'll get ahead of the game and allow Welker to do that somewhere else. We'll go younger. And Danny Amendola, to me, is a Wes Welker clone. He's not as good as Welker. He's not as polished as Welker is in the slot, but he's got all the intangibles. He's got all of the same measurements and all of the same attributes as Wes Welker does. He has to stay healthy. That's going to be key for Danny Amendola, but he's a guy that in this Patriots offense with Tom Brady at the controls could easily catch 100 balls. I mean, Amendola has that type of ability, and so if he stays healthy, I think the Patriots feel like we've got Wes Welker 2.0 here in Danny Amendola, and I think that was the reasoning why they decided to kind of lowball Wes Welker and kind of push him out the door because they had a guy that they felt was a younger, better Wes Welker. We'll see how that all works out. Running back Leon Washington, and I talked about Danny Woodhead and what he meant to this offense. I feel like Leon Washington is going to be his exact replacement, almost like a clone. You take Leon Washington, who is a return specialist type of guy. He's going to help your return game first and foremost. And then you insert him into the offense on third downs in situations when you want to get the football out of the backfield. Leon Washington is going to come in, and I think he's a guy that hasn't been utilized in that capacity enough throughout his career. And I think he's a guy that can make some things happen. When the ball is in his hands, as we've seen on the returns that he's had in this league, this guy is dynamite in the return game. And so I think the Patriots are going to get the football in his hands out of the backfield and allow him to work in space. And so I think he'll be an adequate replacement to Danny Woodhead. I like the pickup of Leon Washington for this football team. You look at running back LeGarrette Blount. Here was a guy that was acquired in a trade in the offseason with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers were really done with LeGarrette Blount. He wasn't getting a lot of carries in Tampa Bay. He was in the doghouse. He was traded to the Patriots. I don't really know what this trade does for the Patriots. Again, I thought the Patriots had a really effective run game a season ago. With all the backs that you had between Vereen and Bolden and all the guys that you threw out there, I don't really know what LeGarrette Blount does that these other guys can't do for you. He's a big back. He's much bigger than anyone you have on your roster, but I don't think LeGarrette Blount actually plays as big as his size would indicate. And so I don't really know what this one does for you. LeGarrette Blount, and this sums it up in a nutshell, he would rather leap over you than run over you. And for a guy of his size, that's just not what you're looking for in a big back. So there you have it. Quarterback Tim Tebow, another big offseason acquisition, another splash move that the Patriots did but didn't intend for it to be a splash move. But nonetheless, Tim Tebow is on this roster. What capacity will he be used in? Look, he's not going to play quarterback. We know that. I don't expect him to get in the game at all at quarterback. And some people see him sneaking in short yardage situations. I don't see the Patriots taking Tom Brady off the field for anything. I just don't see it happening. So I've eliminated him as a quarterback option in New England. And you can listen to them talk about how he's going to do this or how he isn't going to do that. Bill Belichick is going to use this guy in every way imaginable. If he makes this roster, there's a good chance that Tim Tebow doesn't even make this roster. A lot of people aren't even talking about that. But with all the off the field issues of guys like Hernandez and that tight end position that's kind of up in the air, you got Gronkowski, who recently had back surgery. He's probably going to start the season on the PUP list, which means he would miss the first 6 games of the season. You're going to need some guys that can step up at the tight end position. Maybe, you didn't hear this from me, but just maybe Tim Tebow might be playing some tight end. Don't listen to people that tell you he's not playing tight end. Even if the Patriots tell you he's not playing tight end, don't you believe it. Because as we all know, they can tell you one thing and give you something totally different. So Tim Tebow could be playing some tight end. He could be playing some fullback. You don't know what capacity you're going to see Tim Tebow in. If he makes this roster, it'll be because he adds value in different positions, not because he's the third string quarterback. Trust me on that one. You look at defensive tackle Tommy Kelly. This is a huge pickup for the New England Patriots because this is the guy that could actually be that Robin to the Batman that is Vince Wilfork in the middle of this defense. We know what Vince Wilfork has been for the Patriots over the years. Tommy Kelly is very good at the defensive tackle position, but when you're stuck in Oakland, people don't know about you. And so Tommy Kelly, if he can be consistent and stop being penalized, this guy is one of the most undisciplined players in the National Football League. Holding, offsides, personal fouls, you name it. Tommy Kelly gets them on the defensive side of the football. So if he can steer clear of all of the infractions, Tommy Kelly is going to be a huge offseason pickup for the New England Patriots. And last but not least, safety Adrian Wilson. And this seems like a typical Patriots move under the Bill Belichick regime. Getting an aging veteran safety that has a little bit left in the tank and squeezing that last bit of juice and that last bit of talent out of that rag. And that's what they did with Rodney Harrison. And I expect them to do the same thing with Adrian Wilson as well. He's going to come in. Here's a guy that's one heck of an in-the-box safety at this point of his career. Not really good in pass coverage anymore, but you put him in the box, he's like another linebacker, but yet he runs at the speed of a safety. And so this guy's going to blitz. He's going to be knifing into the backfield, making tackles on running backs. I expect Bill Belichick to put this guy in positions to make plays that's going to help impact this defense in a very, very positive way. So Adrian Wilson is going to be a huge addition to this defense for the New England Patriots. We go from there and not really switching gears so much as let's talk about draft picks now for the New England Patriots. And these are the guys that were drafted in the 2013 NFL Draft. Patriots went out and really wanted to address the defensive side of the football as well as the wide receiver position, as you will see when we run down this list. You look at linebacker Jamie Collins in the second round. And if you're looking for a breakdown of these players, I will redirect you to my NFL 2013 draft wrap-up series that I've done on every single team, including the New England Patriots. If you're looking for an extensive breakdown of each one of these players, pros and cons, go there for that kind of coverage. Here, I'm just going to talk about them briefly and move on. So you look at wide receiver Aaron Dobson. Here's a big guy out of Marshall in the second round that the Patriots drafted. They're looking for big things from him, and they're going to need it because of the lack of continuity between Brady and these receivers in New England. Someone's going to have to step up, and I think the Patriots are hoping that guy's Aaron Dobson. You look at cornerback Logan Ryan in the third round, safety Deron Harmon in the third round, wide receiver Josh Boyce out of TCU in the 4th round. Another interesting pickup by the Patriots. Patriots have not had a lot of success drafting receivers. We'll see if Boyce and Dobson can buck that trend for the Patriots, who desperately need some receivers to come in here, because I was not that impressed with that crop of receivers that they got in free agency in the offseason. You look at defensive end Michael Buchanan in the 7th round, as well as linebacker Steve Bohanaris in the 7th round as well. And so that rounds up the Patriots draft. 3 of those 7 players were products of Rutgers University. So Belichick not afraid to shop in the backyard of the Patriots by going down the street and plucking players away from Rutgers. Keep that in mind as we go on to undrafted free agent rookies. These draft picks are going to make the roster for the most part. Now we're going to talk about players that have a long shot of making this roster, but maybe 1 or 2, possibly and potentially 3 of these guys could make the roster. Don't know. We will see. Let's talk about undrafted free agent rookies. So as you look at the undrafted free agent rookies, there are 20 of them listed here. Of course, all of these guys aren't going to make the roster. In fact, the majority of these guys will not make this roster. I'd be surprised if any more than 3 of these guys crack this roster, and I don't think that many will make this roster, but we will see. You always have a shot, especially with a guy like Bill Belichick as your head coach. If you can play football, if he thinks you can help this team, you will be on this roster. And you always got to look out for the guys from Rutgers, because as you have heard, I've just told you, and if you've been paying attention, Bill Belichick has an affinity for guys that have played at Rutgers, because he's been able to study that program a little bit closer than many others. So let's take a look at these undrafted free agents. You look at running back George Wynn out of Cincinnati, running back Quentin Hines out of Akron, running back Ben Bartholomew out of Tennessee, wide receiver TJ Moe out of Missouri, wide receiver Kimbrell Tompkins out of Cincinnati, wide receiver Mark Harrison out of Rutgers, tight end Brandon Ford out of Clemson, tight end Zach Zudfeld out of Nevada, tight end Elvis Fisher out of Missouri, tight end RJ Mattis out of NC State, guard Chris McDonald out of Michigan State, guard Josh Klein out of Kent State, center Matt Stankiewicz out of Penn State, defensive back Stephon Morris out of Penn State, defensive back Kenoris Davis out of Troy, defensive back Brandon Jones out of Rutgers, defensive tackle Corey Grissom out of South Florida, defensive tackle Joe Villano out of Maryland, and you finish up with 2 specialists, punter Ryan Allen out of Louisiana Tech, and long snapper Mike Zaponchik out of Eastern Michigan. These are your 20 undrafted free agents looking to try to crack this roster. We go from there now to wrapping up the New England Patriots by talking about any philosophical changes in New England. As you look at New England and any philosophical changes with the Patriots, you will find that there aren't many, and this is something that generally is consistent with the Patriots. You get what you get from the Patriots. Last year was an anomaly. There were a lot of changes in New England. They switched from a 3-4 base defense to a 4-3 defense. They had a new defensive coordinator in Matt Patricia. You had Josh McDaniels coming back to the Patriots after leaving. And so there were a lot of changes, a slew of changes with the Patriots. Now it's back to business, back to the Patriot way in New England. Not a lot of changes. They're looking to try to get a lot of different pieces in place to kind of get them back to where they want to be. And so from a philosophical standpoint, the defense looks a lot similar to what it looked like a season ago. They're trying to build upon what Matt Patricia had this bunch doing in 2012. I think that they made a huge leap from 2011 when they made it to the Super Bowl, but they were one of the worst defenses in the league statistically. But one thing I can always say about the Patriots, and it's something that I'm really big on, is the fact that they're a bend but don't break defense. You can talk about yardage all you like, and the Patriots will give up their fair share of yards. They were 25th in the league in 2012 in yards given up on average. And then you look at 2011 where they were 31st. But in both of those seasons, including the Super Bowl season in 2011 and last year, where they were ninth in points allowed, they're not allowing you to get in the end zone. And that's, to me, the most important part. You can go from 20 to 20 all you like, but if you're settling for a field goal instead of putting it in the end zone, then it doesn't matter because the Patriots are going to score points at the end of the day. And so if you're scoring field goals and kicking field goals and they're scoring touchdowns, you're not going to beat Brady in that bunch. So I think the Patriots defensively, what they want to do is get after the quarterback more. I think that last year, guys were starting to come into their own. You got Chandler Jones, and so you got guys that are just starting to learn how to get after the quarterback in the National Football League. A very young defense, a lot of young parts along this defense, and so you're looking for guys to continue to grow in their roles on this defense. You're looking for guys to get pressure on the quarterback. They need more pressure on the quarterback, and I think they're going to get that in the upcoming season. If they can do that and also get the back half of the defense to come along, you get Aqib Talib back again on a one-year deal. We'll see how that goes out. If he can stay healthy, he was a huge asset to the Patriots. Another question you got to ask yourself is, will cornerback Alfonso Dennard be added to the list of out with the old with the Patriots? He was just arrested recently, and the Patriots, we know what kind of state of mind they're in right now. They don't want any negative publicity right now. It's just not a good time for Alfonso Dennard to get in trouble. And so if he is not cleared of any wrongdoing, if he is found guilty or is brought up on charges of anything here, there's a good chance that this guy will be cut loose because the Patriots right now are just with a zero tolerance for anything not football related right now. So we'll see how that shakes out. But in terms of on the field, this Patriots team is going to look a lot like they did in 2012. They're hoping to improve on what they were able to do on the defensive side of the football, where I thought they were solid enough to get into the postseason and do some damage. But if they want to take that next step and really give themselves a chance to get back to the Super Bowl, this defense is going to have to kick it up another notch. You look at the offensive side of football, there's really not a lot to chew on here other than the fact that there are a lot of changes with players, not the scheme. It's still Brady. It's still that West Coast offense quickly getting the football out of their hand. We saw a slight change last year. Patriots ran the football a lot more, ran it really effectively, and I thought that them running the football really opened up things for Tom Brady in that passing game. And instead of the Patriots passing to run, they ran to set up the pass last season. And if they can do that again, who knows what this Patriots offense can be. I thought that they really, really attacked defenses differently last season than the short passes being the running game, essentially the extension of the running game. Last year, they actually ran the football and ran it probably as good as they have since those Corey Dillon days when they went to the Super Bowl and won. So it's been a while since the Patriots have been able to run the football the way they did in 2012. Let's see if they can duplicate that in 2013. But the biggest change for the offense is going to be the receiver position. No more Lloyd. No more Aaron Hernandez. Gronkowski is going to miss some time with that back surgery. You're also looking at no more Wes Welker. There are a lot of changes, a slew of changes in terms of personnel. But as far as the philosophy is concerned, it's going to be the same Patriots attack. Brady is going to look to spread the football around. He's going to have to find targets to throw it to now. You get Jake Ballard back from the ACL injury. Let's see what he's able to do. You get Daniel Phelps at the tight end position. Let's see what he's able to bring to the mix. With Gronkowski being out and no more Hernandez, we'll see what the tight end position looks like for the Patriots. You've got a lot of young receivers, though. And Brady's going to have to build continuity with all of these guys. No more Welker. And so Amendola is going to have to step up. You're looking for Dobson, maybe Josh Boyce to step up out of those young guys. You're looking for maybe one or two of those free agent acquisitions in Jenkins or Hawkins or one of those guys to step in and really help you at the receiver position. So we'll see how that all shakes out for the Patriots. But as far as philosophy is concerned, really not a lot of philosophical changes for the New England Patriots. And so that's going to do it for New England. And that's what's new in New England.